A major U.S. Supreme Court case is putting immigration policy on edge right now. The White House is watching. Immigration advocates are watching. Families abroad are watching. And depending on what the court decides in the coming days, it could influence how future immigration policies are written, defended, or challenged. And if you're someone whose plans depend on the United States, whether you're applying for a visa, waiting on a petition, hoping for a pathway to residency, or even just trying to understand what the future looks like, this kind of uncertainty can feel personal, not political, personal. You're watching the news and thinking, what happens to my plan if the rules change? What happens to my family? What happens to my timeline? This is Immigration Newsroom, and in this video we're going to do two things. First, I'm going to explain what moments like this usually mean for immigration, why Supreme Court decisions can create ripple effects even beyond the exact case being decided. And second, because your future should never depend on only one country or one court decision, I'm going to walk you through 7 countries that, right now, are widely seen as more welcoming or more practical for immigrants and international students, with clearer legal pathways than many people expect. This is not about giving up on the U.S. It's about being smart, having options, having backup plans, and knowing where opportunity exists. One important note before we begin: immigration laws and programs change often, and processing times vary by nationality, profession, and personal background. Always confirm details on official government websites or with a licensed immigration professional before making decisions. Now let's talk about why a Supreme Court moment can feel like a switch for immigrants. When the court takes up an immigration-related dispute, it can affect how far an administration can go using executive power, how agencies interpret statutes, what counts as lawful procedure, and what legal challenges will succeed in the future. Sometimes the ruling directly changes something. Other times it changes the legal climate, which then shapes new policies that come next. That uncertainty is exactly why many people quietly broaden their plans. They keep the U.S. path open, while also exploring countries with strong legal immigration systems, labor shortages, and realistic long-term settlement routes. So let's get into the 7 countries to consider, starting with options that are often overlooked and moving toward the most popular. Portugal is one of Europe's most practical entry points for people who want an EU lifestyle without the extreme cost of some other Western European countries. Portugal has been attractive to immigrants for several reasons: a strong safety profile, a high quality of life, and immigration categories that, depending on your situation, can be more achievable than people assume. Portugal has had investment-based routes, and it has also been popular for remote workers and entrepreneurs through various residency pathways. The exact investment rules and qualifying options have changed over time, so don't rely on old social media posts. Always check official Portuguese guidance or a qualified advisor. What remains true is that Portugal continues to attract international residents, and it has been actively trying to modernize immigration processing because demand has grown so fast. Portugal can also be a strong option for families because legal residency often creates a foundation for family reunification, depending on income and housing requirements. If your goal is Europe but realistic, Portugal is worth serious research. Ireland is another strong option, especially if you want an English-speaking environment in Europe and you work in an in-demand field. Ireland's biggest draw is its job market in certain sectors. It's a European hub for multinational companies, particularly in technology, finance, and professional services. Ireland has structured work permit systems, including permits designed for higher skill or hard-to-fill roles. When your occupation is in demand, your process can be much smoother than in countries with less targeted systems. For students, Ireland is also attractive because graduates of Irish institutions may qualify for post-study permission that allows time to find a job and transition into a work status, depending on the level of study and current rules. Ireland can be competitive and expensive in housing in major areas, so it's not easy mode. But for many skilled workers and international graduates, it can be a clean and logical pathway, especially if you value English and a clear employment-based route. New Zealand is often described as one of the most transparent countries for skilled immigration planning, because the country has long relied on structured categories that prioritize skills, age, qualifications, and job offers. New Zealand regularly highlights shortages in areas like healthcare, construction, engineering, trades, IT, and agriculture-related roles. When your skills align with national needs and you have the right qualifications, the path can be relatively straightforward compared to systems that feel unpredictable. New Zealand is also popular with students because post-study work options can allow time to gain local experience, often a key step toward longer-term residence. Beyond paperwork, New Zealand's appeal is lifestyle, lower density, strong environment, and a culture many immigrants find welcoming. The trade-off is distance and a smaller job market compared to countries like Canada or Australia. But if you value stability, transparency, and quality of life, New Zealand stays on many serious immigrants' shortlists. Australia remains one of the biggest opportunity destinations for skilled migrants, and it's actively shaped by labor market needs. Australia has multiple visa subclasses, and while the system is points-based and can feel technical, it's also relatively well documented compared to many places. If your occupation appears on skilled lists, and you have strong English ability, education, and work experience, you may be competitive under points-tested categories. Australia also uses regional pathways to encourage immigrants to settle outside the largest cities, and those routes can sometimes be more accessible depending on your profile. Students in Australia often have post-study work options that can lead to professional experience and a potential transition into skilled migration pathways, depending on occupation and policy settings at the time. Australia is not easy, and it's not cheap, but it offers something many people want: a structured system, strong wages in many fields, and real long-term settlement pathways for people who fit national workforce needs. Germany is one of Europe's strongest work-based immigration options right now, largely because Germany has openly recognized that its economy needs skilled workers to offset an aging population and labor shortages. Germany has work routes tied to recognized qualifications and job offers, and it's known for pathways like the EU Blue Card for eligible professionals. In many cases, Germany also supports family reunification strongly once you are legally resident and working. Germany is also a major destination for students because public universities can be low cost compared to other countries, and there are legal routes that allow graduates to remain for a period to find work, then transition into longer-term status. Germany can require more adaptation, bureaucracy, paperwork culture, and often the need to learn German for long-term integration and better job options, even if many workplaces use English. But if you want a serious, economically powerful country that is actively recruiting skilled talent, Germany is one of the clearest choices in Europe. Spain has become increasingly attractive to immigrants for one major reason: lifestyle plus growing legal pathways, especially for remote workers, entrepreneurs, and people who can support themselves financially while integrating. Spain has introduced and expanded options that support digital nomads and certain startup or innovation categories. And it also has work routes in sectors where labor needs exist, though employer sponsorship and regional requirements can vary. Spain's strength is not just getting in, but living well once you're there. Strong food culture, family-oriented living, and a pace of life many immigrants love. The trade-off can be salaries that are lower than Northern Europe and sometimes slower bureaucracy. If your immigration strategy is reside legally, work remotely, or build income, then move toward long-term residence. Spain is now a serious contender for many people. And then there's Canada, often the first choice for people who want a clear, long-term immigration plan. Canada has built immigration into its national economic strategy for years, using multiple pathways: federal skilled immigration systems, provincial nominee programs aligned with local labor needs, study-to-work to residency routes, and family sponsorship options. Canada's skilled immigration can be competitive, but it's also one of the most structured systems in the world. People can often assess themselves using points factors like age, education, language ability, and work experience. Provinces can nominate immigrants for targeted needs. International graduates can often work after graduation and build the kind of local experience that strengthens permanent residence applications. Canada is not perfect. Housing costs can be high in major cities, winters are real, and processing times fluctuate. But Canada remains one of the most stable, planable immigration systems for families, skilled workers, and students. Now here's what I want you to take away from this video. Yes, U.S. immigration uncertainty is stressful, especially when courts, elections, and policy shifts collide. But your dream should not be trapped inside one timeline or one border. If the United States is your goal, stay informed, keep your paperwork strong, and watch for official updates. But at the same time, give yourself power by researching alternatives with clear legal routes. Because the truth is, there are countries looking for skilled workers, welcoming international students, supporting family unity, and building immigration into their future plans, right now. Comment below and tell me two things: where you're watching from, and which country on this list you would seriously consider if you needed a strong backup plan. If you want more updates like this, focused on real immigration options, policy shifts, and how to protect your plans, subscribe to Immigration Newsroom. And a quick disclaimer before I go: this video is general information, not legal advice. Immigration rules can change quickly, and your best move is always to verify details through official government sources or a qualified immigration professional based on your specific situation. No matter what happens in U.S. courts, keep your options open, keep moving forward, and keep believing in your future.